Welcome to ARK Survival Evolved Lost Island map. This is my unique take of the hardcore mode challenge, where I have been tasked to defeat the new DLC within only 100 days. Surviving all the dangerous conditions and challenges that the map will throw at us, and we have to do all of this with only one single life. But this time things were different, as this map contained a cursed secret. Now, time to introduce all brand new characters. Starring ARK Addict as the Castaway, iLegend as the Collector, iSizen as the Assistant, SeptemberDuck as the Trader, and of course our villain, the Terrible, a mysterious guest. Now, do we have what it takes to take on the alpha boss of the map, an oversized grenade throwing monkey? And of course, hopefully we can prevent the curse. This video is proudly presented by Kruger Ops. If you enjoy it, please be sure to like, subscribe and turn on those bell notifications for future postings. Now sit back, grab yourself some popcorn and enjoy the show. Yes, the infamous start of every ARK journey. Waking up naked and afraid with a scratchy implant embedded in your arm and having no memory or recollection on how you got here. But hey, this was Lost Island. It was gonna be a breeze compared to Aberration. So I made some primitive tools and primitive clothing, and I did what every beach bob does best: murder some dodos. After slaughtering a few of them, I knew I couldn't just simply survive out in the open, so once I had enough hide and meat, I placed myself down a little thatch foundation, and since my tummy was grumbling, I needed to make a little fire pit and cook up some steaks. I then noticed a curious friend behind me coming to see what I was doing. But yeah, you're already coming over to be my friend, and I think I just hit... Yeah, there we go, level 9. So, club, bowlers and saddle. Once everything was unlocked, I bowled up my friend and I clubbed him out. He went down in no time. Go down. Yes. And I was able to shove berries in its butt. Once he tamed up, I had to try the little animation skin. See if this costume will give me some inspiration. Oh, that looks awesome. After seeing the animated version, I named him Paruto and got back to farming since storm clouds were starting to form. Definitely not be near this tree while there's lightning. And after farming up all that I needed, I finished up my little thatch hut and sat on the back of Paruto, watching on to the evening sunset, ready to take on the next day. We decided the next day to go and search for another friend to join the family. There they are. They're getting bullied by all sorts of things. Now, since I would be forced to tame the equus out in the open with no rock carrots, I decided to make some cooking pots so I could level up quicker to unlock myself billboards. My idea was to make a little stable so he wouldn't just run out in the open into oncoming danger. So once I was ready, I placed my billboards, but of course the equus can simply run underneath. So after that huge waste of time, we were left with no other option but hopping on the back and riding into open terrain, hoping we wouldn't come across any enemies. It took ages taming with only berries. Like, we rode through the entire night, and by the morning we finally reached percentage 69. Nice. We got to see one amazing sunrise. Lost Island is really a good looking map. And finally, our equus was tamed. Yes, alright, I'll name you in a bit. Once I went back to Paruto, spotted a Maywing. And of course I had to have him, and luckily I had a bunch of billboards lying around, so I was able to trap him and hoof him out in no time. I then named my equus Powerpuff, after she being sugar, spice and everything nice colors. Then I spotted this awesome looking PT, and due to her curiosity, she was about to join the family as well. I then spotted some hyenodons nearby, so I bowled them up, and Paruto and Powerpuff came over to help me take care of them. After they were dead, I skinned them for some prime meat that I fed to the PT. I named the Maywing, as well as the PT, and the three of us made our way back to our little thatch hut. That was being camped by raptors, so I had no other choice but to abandon it, make myself a raft, and some hide armor. I placed down a raft, and got the whole family on board. It was a little bit difficult since the raft is tiny and they're all a bit big. But finally we sailed away and waved goodbye to our thatch hut. Raptors, I hope you enjoy your new home. So on day 4 we set out sailing the coasts of Lost Island, with Burrito following closely behind. We took in some amazing scenery and spotted a Magmasaur. Now I got tempted. Once I passed the volcanic area, I kept thinking how nice it would be to have a Magmasaur. So yeah, I'm about to do something stupid. So I went in to park the raft, got Powerpuff, and we set out on an adventure. Now firstly, Powerpuff has some awesome climbing abilities. It didn't take us long to reach the mouth of the Magmasaur cave. Our nerves were really stacking up at this point. I mean, one single fireball would end this journey as I know it. But I was feeling brave, I was feeling confident. Then I saw them. 2 notorious Magmasaurs just protecting their nests. I quickly felt the heat of the first fireball behind me, and I knew it was all in or all out. And of course, what do you think I did? I had to go for it. After running through a little bit of fire, I got drained to about half HP, so I knew I was in for trouble. I saw Egg, I quickly grabbed it, hopped on just in time to escape another 2 fireballs. And now I was fighting against the heat. Can I make it out? Why, yes I can. So I hopped into safety, made my way back to my raft. Then I noticed we were being followed, and Paruta wasn't on the raft. I tried to get him up and noticed another fireball nearly hit me. Now my raft was stuck, so I had to run away. But I couldn't just abandon my family. So I went back, whistled follow, and hot-tailed it out of there. Once we were saved, we farmed up a new raft, cooked up some steaks so we could get our bellies fed, and we waited out the evening sky before setting sail again the next day. Now, since we can't do 100 days on a raft, I knew I needed to find a place to stay. So after some more exploring, I found a nice interesting mountain. I then hopped on Powerpuff and we went exploring the mountain range. And we stumbled upon a motherload of rich metal nodes. This area was amazing, but not very flat. So I explored a little bit more and I spotted what seemed like a level plateau. And it was! This area would be perfect. So I had to explore some more resources nearby. I found more metal and even crystal nearby. I mean, yeah, just look at my excitement. And once I made my way back, even obsidian. So I knew I needed to grab the whole family. But Perry the platypus was too fat to make his way up. So I was forced to make him a saddle first. I then dropped myself a foundation and a forge. And I gathered up a little bit of metal to make myself a smithy. Once I had the smithy, I could make a metal pick and farm out the metal nodes. Now just look how rich in metal these nodes are. And by the morning of day 6, I went out to gather some more hide. After slaughtering a few more dodos and lystros, I had the hide that I needed, and I could finally make a saddle for Perry. Now I could finally get him past the little stuck edge, with his thick thighs and all. I decided to take Powerpuff up first, since it's better to have her climbing than following me up, as she's quite the climbing expert, and once she was up by the plateau, I made my way down to grab the rest of them. Unfortunately, I mistimed my jump, nearly falling to death twice. But this was good, because now I could grab some water. Perry the platypus and Burrito were up next, so I moved them over to the plateau and tried to farm out a ramp so I could get Burrito there. Unfortunately, we had a Rex camping us, so I knew I needed to lead him down for safety. I wanted to see what level the Rex was, so I went over to go grab some crystal. This way I could make myself a spyglass. My hide was still back at Burrito, but so was a Rex. And I tried everything, but I was too late to save him. So after I lured the Rex away, I grabbed the remaining hide, said goodbye to Burrito. Buddy, I should have saved you when I could. And I made my way back up to the plateau. I then started placing a few foundations, cooked up some more meat, finally used my spyglass, and of course I had to make a gravestone for my first fallen tame. Rest in peace, Baruto. You were with me since day one, my first companion, and you will be missed. So the next day I started working on a wall so I could have some better base defenses. I started making a bunch of dino gates, but then I spotted something tempting, a level 90 Argentavis nearby. So I rather placed down the gates as a trap, split some meat, made some narcotics, and got the aggro of the RG. Once I had him safely in the trap, I went back to my mortar and pestle and finished up my trank arrows. I then went back to the RG and started shooting him in the face with a bunch of trank arrows. Weirdly enough, this is how you make friends in ARK. Finally, the RG went down, and now I just needed to grab him some prime meat. I also decided to place a few spikes, so I had some form of defenses. And finally I tracked down another Hyaenodon that I managed to slaughter and skin him for his meat. This would make a perfect snack for my new friend. I then went back to the RG and fed him up all the meat that I got, and he tamed up and I named him America. Because I mean, he's got the red, white and blue, so it seemed fitting. And finally I had enough XP to unlock the PT saddle. So on day 8 I set out to find the chitin I need for the saddle, but I got tempted by ARK with some high level Rexes. Now, keep focus, we need chitin first. After finding out that the Maywing is useless at killing things, I decided to retreat back and make myself a bunch of spears. Now, these bugs were no ordinary bugs, because as soon as I killed one, all of its friends came to protect it. But luckily I was able to overcome it and murder them all. Another Rex was spawned, so I knew ARK was telling me it was time to get a Rex. After tracking down my first beaver dam, I grabbed the base that I needed, and I made a quick escape from a Sarco right into another high level Rex. Oh yeah, this was definitely meant to be. I placed down some more forges so I could kick up metal quicker, make some more narcotics and my billboards, and finally I was ready to trap my first Rex. After he murdered the Diplo, I managed to get him into my somewhat majestically placed trap, and I was ready to start tranking him out. Now he took pretty much all my arrows and I was down to my final 2. But that's pretty much all I needed.
I'm taking a nap!
You wanna take a nap?
I'm taking a nap here.
Okay, take a nap right there then.
Good night.
Now I just needed some prime meat, and after spotting an alpha raptor nearby, I thought it would be a good idea to lure some Brontos to it. But the alpha raptor was more interested in me. But luckily the Maywing has got an awesome gliding ability and I was able to lose it over a mountain edge. Once I made my way back to the Bronto, he had overcome a Carno and a Rex, so I was able to get the prime meat that I needed, and by the evening I fed it to my Rex. He tamed up in the morning and I named him Mario Luigi, and the 3 of us went tracking over the icy mountains to get him back to base. But now I needed to get him a girlfriend. So I made some more narcotics and billboards and made my way back to the other 2 Rexes. I finally got the 2 of them separated, and the white one, being the high level female, got her trapped in my billboards and started tranking her out. Again, it took the entire day, all my arrows, but luckily this time I had a little bit of narcotic backup, and all I needed was 1 more. I mean, can you imagine running out of 1 arrow that you need for a tame? But anyway, I made my way over to some Brontos and Rexes fighting in the jungle, and I spotted a dead Rex, so this was the perfect opportunity to get the prime meat that I needed. But the fight made its way over to me, and I hopped on just in time to get away from a Bronto tail whip that most likely would have ended my life. And by the early hours of day 11, I managed to destroy the billboards as the Rex finished up taming, and I slowly brought her back to base. On my way back, I spotted some obsidian and I thought now might be a good time to get my hair sorted out. But first I had other plans in store. I wanted to go get myself a cinema crops, as it would most likely save me from so many difficult situations. And I made my way over to the swamp in the middle of the jungle to start searching for them. Now, it didn't take me long to track some of them down, but
Nope.
I don't know what it was, they weren't very interested in me. After going sinnoh after sinnoh, every time I got close, they were flying away. I wasn't really sure what I was doing wrong. So by that evening, I found another location where I spotted one, but something else was lurking in the water, waiting for me to dismount. Now it was on. Me and this Capra had to fight it out. Can I survive his attack? A level 60 with the help of his bug minions? Luckily, I got him slaughtered and I was able to hop back on the Maywing. Me and Perry got the hell out of there. Oh great, now it fell in love. I then got another sinnoh that evening. But I suffered the same rejection. And on the morning of day 12, more rejection. And more rejection. I knew I was doing something wrong. So I referred to my good friend Google and I searched up how to tame a cinnamocrops. And everyone in the videos were wearing ghillies, so maybe that's the answer I'm looking for. Now I didn't have ghillie yet and I can't go back to base empty-handed. So me and Perry the platypus summoned up every ounce of courage that we had and we glided our way over to the wyvern trench. Now yes, this is a ballsy and dumb move, not checking the trench first, but the Maywing's quite quick. I'm sure I could quickly grab this egg and get out of here. And as I went to turn around, a lightning wyvern shredded through Perry's health and got him so close to being knocked out, I needed to get out of there. But then I was thinking, that wyvern was going to be out of the trench by now, and I have a brief window of opportunity to grab this egg. So I dove down yet again, and this time I had enough time to hop off, grab the egg, hop back on Perry, and got the hell out of there. Victorious from our adventure, we were adamant to make it back base. Fighting through rainstorms and snowstorms, nothing was gonna hold us back. Finally, we made it back to base, and I was so excited to share with everyone what I had just done and show them this amazing egg. Finally, we could have another family member. So the next morning, the ritual for getting twins or triplets started. I was adamant that this time, I'm gonna be lucky. Even Mario Luigi was thinking that. And hey, what do you know, when the eggs popped, I had triplets. This was amazing. I demolished all the torches, got them into Perry, and took them around to introduce to the whole entire family. One by one they all got to meet the 3 wyverns, and I decided to name them Farming, Fighting, and Exploring. And I then took them on a quick little fly over the map to show them what was lying in store. And on my way back, I spotted some Ankies. Now, this was ideal. I made some more narcotic, dropped off the 3 wyverns, and went to grab some berries. I then started making some arrows, and by that time my wyverns finished raising. So I hopped on the first one, and went in to grab the Anki. I brought it closer to base and tranked it out, and then went searching for a Dodicarus. I could only find a level 20 and that wasn't worth it, and after spotting a high level Daedon, I thought I might grab that to raise the Magmasaur. But then I saw I needed to be level 95 for the saddle, so I yeeted the Daedon. I don't have time for that right now. And I made my way back to check on the Anki. He was nearly done taming, so I made his saddle, finally made my scissors, and gave myself a makeover with my distinguishing haircut and mustache. I then saddled up the Anki, named the Rex Betty White and the Anki sub to iLegend. And hey, if you guys also want a tame named after you, or feature in my next video, be sure to join the Discord. Before I could even properly start my next adventure, I ended up running out of stamina in front of a level 140 Rex with a somewhat unleveled wyvern. I was forced to start fighting, and let's just say the Rex shredded through my health. I really thought I wasn't gonna make it, but finally I gave the last bite that I needed. I definitely need to get myself a cinnamocrops. This could have ended so much worse. So I force fed the wyvern some meat to get him all healed up again, and then I made my way over to the volcano, so I could search for some organic poly and hopefully find a Dodicarus. I did stumble upon some mantis and I was able to shred through them to get my first bit of organic poly. That was pretty much all that I needed to make my ghillie armor. Then I finally spotted a Dodicarus, so I grabbed him and took him back to base. I used the same trap as the RG and knocked him out, made him a saddle, and then I went searching for a cinema crops yet again. So on day 15 I made my way back to the swamp area, and it didn't take me long to spot some Sinnohs. They seemed scared from the wyvern, so I rather proceeded on foot, and I got one trapped in sort of a waterfall area that would be ideal for me to tame. And then I saw it, the little hearts. Finally I had a Sinnoh that wasn't repulsed by me. So I placed some torches around him, and a sign, "Let's be friends," and I started taming up my Sinnoh. Unfortunately, my sign was a little bit too close, because the cinema crops wasn't able to land again, and I made the mistake of demolishing the only torch keeping it in position. And just like that, the cinema crops abandoned me, but luckily got stuck on a corner in the edge of the waterfall. I dropped down, tamed him up, and named him Kiwi after the parrot that always sits on my shoulder. But now that I got a green screen, that doesn't really work anymore. But finally I tested the little guy out. Awesome. He was really cool, and don't ask me how I would have gotten back to my wyvern without him. But then the attack of the leeches started. There were so many leeches in the swamp. Every time I would land to look for another Sinnoh, I would get completely infected by leeches. Myself and the wyvern were being sucked on again, so I had to make a campfire to burn off the leech, rid the wyvern of his leech, and after searching around a little bit more, being unsuccessful, I decided to rather hot-tail it out of the swamp. Now on the start of day 16, it's probably a good time to start working on a base. So let's cue the stone harvesting montage. Now you know you're committed to farming when you nearly freeze to death while you're getting stone. I went down to 17 HP, but I had 5 bins full of stone, so it was worth it. The next day the farming continued, and I'm gonna try to keep it brief for the video, but I do want to show you guys all the effort that goes behind all the farming that I do. After basically causing complete deforestation, I had another 4 bins filled with wood. Now, next up was cementing paste. So I went all over the map, searching high and low for every single beaver dam that I could find. On the start of day 19, after robbing the final hard work of the beavers I could find, I made my way over to look for some silica pearls. Now, this spot is amazing, and special shout out to ARK Addict for helping me find this. So I picked a ton of pearls by hand with no threats in the area, made my way home, spotted some gifts from raptor claws, and of course I had to grab it. Finally, the next day I was ready to start building. From all the grinding the last few days, I could finally unlock the Argent Saver saddle, so I continued making structures, filling my tummy, having a drink, and by that evening I was ready to make America his saddle. Now I could finally farm some metal. So on day 21 I started placing some structures to build my main wall. Now finally Rexus can't simply walk into my base. On day 22 was time to sort out my farming area, so I dropped down some foundations to a lower level, linked them with some stairs, made a ton more forges and placed them. Then I went out with iLegend and America to farm up some metal, and after several trips, all my forges were burning in their glory. I then placed some more structures for my farming area, which included smithies as well as a fabricator. Once that was all placed, I made some electronics, started on the foundations of my base and finished it, did the walls, went out with iLegend again to grab some crystals so I could make greenhouse, grabbed all the metal that was already cooked up, and finally I was making the last structures I needed to complete my house. I dropped down my 2 furniture mod smithies, and now time for the house tour. So, welcome to Casa Villa Timmy. This amazing half-acre plot located on a mountain peak has amazing views, and at night it's truly breathtaking. Now let's have a look inside, shall we? As soon as you enter through the door, you have amazing open space living room and a small little Easter egg, and my inside planetary from all the seeds I stole from Aberration. Next up we have a kitchen and dining area, followed by a bar where I can relax after all my stressful adventures. We then head into the bedroom, where we first have our little editor setup that's guarded by Kiwi. This is where we do most of our editing. Our bed where we pretty much never sleep, followed by our ensuite bathroom, which we pretty much never use. Now, let's head on outside because that's where the true magic happens. We have an amazing terrace overlooking the ocean views. And of course, more than enough seating for a nice big old party. Our own little small pond as well as a swimming pool. And this cool ARK chessboard. So I hope you guys enjoyed the tour of Casa Villa Timmy. Now, let's get back to the video, shall we? After waking up on day 25, I wanted a bit of a break from all the farming that I've done the last few days. So I locked my house, hopped on the wyvern, and I went exploring. What is that little island there off in the distance? Right, I'm definitely checking that out first. Now, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to welcome our first collab, ARK Addict. Wait, is there actually something built on this island? I didn't know that. Let's see if I can land here. Wait, these fires look kind of freshly started. And are those dodos? What's going on?
You know what the sea said to me the other day, Wilson? Nothing, it just waved. Of course I waved back, Wilson. I'm not rude.
Wait, hello? Is there someone there?
Wilson? Wilson, I think someone's here. Oh, thank goodness. We've been found, we've been rescued. Oh, we've been stranded here for weeks.
Stranded here? Wait, what do you mean stranded here? Who are you?
Well, you can call me the Castaway. I used to work for FedEx, and a client of ours had a very special package, and I requested to deliver it personally.
Wait, special package?
Well, all I can tell you is this package should not be on this island. It's a cursed artifact. I've actually been protecting it and keeping it with me this whole time, hoping someone would come for me, and now you're here.
What do you mean it shouldn't be on this island?
Hey, I'm just a messenger, and I don't know much more than that. Actually, I don't even know if I can trust you.
So then, tell me, Mr. Castaway, how did you actually come to be on this island?
Well, the plane I was on, it was like it was being drawn here. We were trying to outrun this hurricane, and then the next thing I remember, I was waking up on the island that we found the artifact on.
Artifact? What do you mean artifact?
What was that, Wilson?
Okay, that's not weird at all.
No, I don't trust him, Wilson. We don't have much choice. I mean, this is the only person we've seen in weeks. Who knows who's gonna come next? Oh, just stop acting like that.
Sorry, but who are you actually talking to?
Oh, right, you're still here. The artifact. I'm sorry, I've already said too much. Where's the rest of the rescue party?
Sorry to tell you this, but I'm not actually part of any rescue party. But I can help on the condition that you tell me a little bit more about this artifact.
Alright, mister. You got yourself a deal. Wilson, do you hear that? We're finally gonna get off this forsaken island.
And on that note, I think it's my time to leave here. I'll see you in a few days,
All right.
Mr. Castaway.
Don't be a stranger.
Bye, Wilson. So I hopped on the wyvern and I went out to farm up things that I need for a motorboat so I can get the Castaway off this forsaken place. So I still don't get how to get the Ankies to auto-harvest. Like sometimes there's headings, sometimes there's not. So if you guys can correct me and tell me what I'm doing wrong, I'd appreciate that. Oh, that's a cool looking saber. I then grabbed the green saber and I had to make a trap for him first. You need to give me a few seconds chance. But he wasn't very patient, so I had to drop him down the mountain edge, and once the trap was finished, I finally brought him back and dropped him inside the trap. I went back to grab the Anki after farming some obsidian, and then to trank out the saber. Oh, it's only a 45. It's fine, you're still pretty. I needed the saber for the cave, that was pretty much the only location I knew black pearls were. You have a nice little nap, we'll take care of you tomorrow. And to get away from the blizzard, I went inside to have a nice evening of relaxing and watching some TV. Again, small Easter egg. The next day I went out to grab some prime meat and I stumbled upon an alpha carno, which is pretty easy to fight off with a wyvern if you just keep your distance. Worried about my stamina if I pass out doing this. Nice. That's a lot of prime meat. I got 6 levels from that. Now finally I could tame up my saber. You pretty much instant tame. Shrek Shikiri. I then made my first set of flak. And on day 28 I flew iLegend to the volcano, because I heard about some oil rocks here. The problem was you didn't actually need an Anki, since you can pretty much only harvest them with a pick. And unfortunately I wasn't paying attention. Where did you come from? Legend! My legend! No! No! Alright, so anyone that subscribed to iLegend needs to unsubscribe now. Finally I got back home, made the remaining things that I needed, including a chem bench so I could make some gunpowder, to get the shotgun rounds I would need to take on the cave that lied ahead. The morning of day 29 I was finally able to start making all the bullets that I needed, turning them into shotgun shells. Now I just needed a cryopod and I would be good to go. So I made my way over to a nearby drop, made a cryopod, cryoed up Shikiri, and I went over to the waterfall cave. Now, this cave was pretty brutal since Shikiri wasn't really strong enough to handle bats. And there was a lot of nasty bugs in the area. Hello? But finally, I had the clear sight of some black pearls. Now, I could head back home and make the motorboat for the Castaway. I installed a gravestone for poor iLegend, finished up the motorboat since the metal was finally cooked up, and I made my way back to the little island. Oh, Mr. Castaway, I've returned with a little present for you.
Oh, we're saved. Oh, thank you so much. I should have asked you before, but what do we call you?
You can call me Kruger. And by the way, you had a little boat here. Why didn't you just use that?
Haven't you seen the monsters out there? Their favorite meal is fish and chips. Ah, well, thank you, Kruger. I would advise you to get away from here as soon as possible. There are evil forces on this island.
Evil forces?
This is no ordinary island. It's actually believed there are 4 artifacts that if they're all joined together in the summoning chamber, it has the ability to summon a beast that can end the world as we know it, and the one who summons it has control over its actions.
Wait, do you mean the whole Dinopithecus king? Did I just make you a motorboat for that little information? I mean, I'm literally here to defeat that.
That little monkey, that's nothing compared to this. I have to go now, Kruger. It's very important I get this package away from this island. You need to do the same. It's not safe, Kruger. Get off this island. Wilson, it's time to go. Let's get out of here.
Finally, after saying goodbye to Castaway, I hopped on the wyvern and made my way back home. Hopefully, he gets home safe. But other plans were lurking. On the start of day 31, I was adamant to make myself an industrial forge. So I went over to the volcano in search for some polymer, but then I spotted an old friend, the same Rex that killed iLegend. So of course I had to get revenge. Yeah, that's what you get. I then also reached level 85, and I continued searching for some mantis. Finally stumbled upon a bunch in one area and I noticed a shadow of a wyvern right above me, and this was not the right time to run out of stamina. Finally the wyvern spotted me. With the last grain of stamina I had left, I was able to lose it between the trees. Let's just say I ran out of stamina again in the worst place. Seriously? Fall damage? Yeah, I know. Who loses a wyvern to fall damage? And of course I didn't have my sun on me. Now I was forced to continue on foot. I had a Carno in front of me, a raptor right on my tail, and just as I went around the corner, a Rex in front of me. I really thought this was it. Is this how it was gonna end? After a giant leap of faith, I managed to make it across the edge and run safely back home. This was really a close call. Could have ended a lot worse. I then went to install a gravestone for exploring my first fallen wyvern. On day 32, after grabbing the polymer from the wyvern's body, I was finally able to make my industrial forge and some ACs. Placed it down and got rid of all the old forges. I then built myself a ramp so when the Magmasaur is eventually raised, he could access the forge. I then built my breeding area, dropping down some foundations, and a nice surrounding structure right in front of Perry the Platypus so he could grab the babies, and filled it up with ACs. The next day, all I knew I needed was gonna be a snow owl, since I didn't have any means to get sulfur. So I went out to the snow biome in search for some owls, and I found these two synchronized flyers. One of them turned out to be a level 145. So after dropping my trap and luring the owl over, something pretty weird happened. Yes, the arch trap wasn't working because I've never tamed a snow owl in my life. But after running around a bit, I got the owl strangely stuck on a corner of a gate and he wasn't able to reach or bite me. So this was pretty ideal. I was able to stand here and shoot him until he started running away, and once he did, I gave chase after him. Finally, I saw him go down in the distance.
He went down.
I then murdered a nearby mammoth to get some prime meat, fed up my owl, and once he was tamed, I named him Jack Frosty. And I decided to go back to the Magmasaur trench yet again to see if I don't get maybe a bit of a higher
See
egg.
if we can get something better than level 20.
But this was definitely the day of weird ARK glitches. There wasn't a single Magmasaur in the trench. Finally, my egg was incubating, so I made a snow owl saddle, got Jack Frosty all sorted out, waiting ready to heal up my baby. Unfortunately, it got a bit too cold, so I had to pick up both the eggs. As soon as the morning sunrise comes, I would be able to hatch him, and that's just what I did. Finally, I had Magnus, the Magmasaur, my new metal farming machine. So the next day I spent imprinting Magnus. Pretty much wanted walking all the time, but he's a bit big, so it's not always the easiest. Then I decided to do it with Perry the Platypus, which is pretty awesome. By the start of day 36, Magnus wanted another imprint, and I had to start force healing him up, because he was running pretty low on food. Finally, his final imprint was needed, and of course he wanted a walk yet again. So I brought in Perry, put the giant lizard in a tiny nest,
No thanks.
and finally spent the rest of the day just sorting out my tames so it would be a little bit more organized and nicely spaced out at base. Now I just needed to reach level 95 so I could unlock the saddle. And that's exactly what I was planning to do when I spotted some alphas.
What is going on?
But
I can't,
this happened.
I can't fly, I can't do anything. He's carrying me on his back.
It made no sense. I was being slaughtered.
Seriously?
But yes, I remembered the sinner this time. Thank goodness for that, because otherwise I would have been a goner. So I started gliding back to base, just reminiscing on what just happened. It really didn't make sense. So after putting up a gravestone for farming, I decided we were gonna go and avenge him.
We're gonna go avenge your brother, okay?
The problem was the wyvern wasn't really leveled at all, so I started with a little alpha raptor that I thought would be a pushover. But this fight panned out to be a lot more difficult than I thought. I definitely needed to heal up after this before I can take on the Carno. Finally, I had the little alpha raptor sorted, and I spent the rest of the evening healing up the wyvern. So on the start of day 38, I was ready to take my revenge of the alpha Carno. We were feeling confident, keeping our distance, slowly biting, but it happened again.
That's not.
Luckily this time I had a little bit of stamina and was able to escape the situation. The fight continued. My health was getting pretty low, but finally I got revenge for my fallen wyvern, and I decided to go back to base to gear up for my first cave. So on day 39 I made my way over to where the artifact of the hunter would be. Now, this Sinnoh came in pretty handy, because every time there would be a cluster of wild dinos, I would simply jump up in the sky. It worked amazing. Finally, I reached the crouch point where the artifact was. And this cave is pretty easy, so it was no effort at all in getting this. Yeah, that's our first artifact. Artifact of the Hunter. But I'm not gonna lie, this place is pretty confusing. I was running around in circles the entire day, not knowing which side I needed to go. Got a bit creeped out when I saw a PT, but then I knew I was close to the exit, and finally I reached back to fighting, and I got the hell out of there. Now on day 40 I decided it's time for me to get better loot, so I went searching for some cementing paste, grabbed everything that I needed after closely escaping the jump of a Capro and some raptors, made myself a bunch of scuba gear since I heard of a apparent loot cave, and I went over in search of a Ichthyosaur. But this guy went over into the motherlode of nasties, and I decided to abandon him. Now, on day 41 I realized just how difficult it can be to find a dolphin, weirdly enough, on this map. As every spot I jumped in, I couldn't find one. I literally searched the entire day for ones that were close to the coast, so they would be a little less risky to tame, but I didn't have any luck. Day 42 I finally found some,
Friends with the sharks.
but of course surrounded by a bunch of megalodons, which I managed to all lure back
Not
to a nice
supposed to
beached
come
edge.
past this point.
And after scaring off all the megalodons, I finally had myself some friends. But since the 55 was the highest level, I decided to tame him.
That was pretty much just in time. I wasn't even paying attention to my stam.
And on day 43, I was ready to go and search for a basilosaur. Now, I pretty much searched the entire day and finally tracked one down, again a level 55. So after biting all the mantis and luring them away, I was able to get this guy to start taming up. I ran out of fish, so I had to go chop up some more. Made my way back to the Bassie, and finally he was mine, and I named him Tamed Willy. I then cryoed him up, got back on the back of the wyvern, and made my way safely back to base so I could repair all my scuba gear and make the saddle. On day 44, I reached the apparent loot crave location. This is it. Now, I definitely recommend bringing a Bassie in here, as it's crowded with jellyfish and he just eases through them. Finally, I made it to the loot cave chambers, and I hopped off to collect some loot. I then encountered a weird glitch where I was able to swim into another cave, but no, this was not another cave. ARK was being weird and it teleported me somewhere in the ocean. And then another glitch occurred when I saw a weird cloud of red smoke behind me, and it turned out to be an alpha megalodon, which was kind of ideal because I needed to level up the Bassie and I was still trying to level myself up. And finally, after hours of fighting, I got the alpha megalodon slain. I then made my way back into the cave, fighting through thousands of jellyfish to claim my loot, and once they were all dealt with, I grabbed some more loot. I then decided to heal up the Bassie and spend another day in there, hoping that the loot would respawn. By the time it was done, unfortunately no more loot craze, so I used my magical teleported to the bottom of the ocean and swam to the surface. I then decided to throw out my wyvern and fly over to another location of an artifact, where there's an apparent sunken ship. Maybe this was Captain Pinkbeard's ship? But who knows? I made my way over to the vessel and broke into its bow to claim the artifact. This was definitely the easiest one out of them all.
There we go, artifact of the Devourer.
But since I didn't have my loot yet, I decided to throw out the wyvern and make my way over to some desert drops. But I got tempted by an alpha Carno since I still needed to level a bit, and I thought, let me take him on because I'm now trained in this. He then got a little buddy to join him, but I was still feeling fairly confident. And of course then the glitch happened yet again. Again? Wildcard, you seriously need to fix this. If I didn't have my cinema crops on me, I would have been a goner. But luckily I had a shotgun on me, so I was able to take revenge of my wyvern right there on the spot as I slaughtered the alpha Carno. Once he was dealt with, I now needed to make my way back to base. Now this was a very far journey, but luckily the cinema crops doesn't really run out of stam that easily. So I glided all the way across the map, and by that evening I had reached the snow area. Now I got a little bit impatient, as instead of going around the long, safe way, I decided to go with a shortcut and risk freezing to death. I got my first look of a Magmasaur, but they started chasing me, so of course I had to make a quick escape down the ledge. I lured them down the mountain, and finally I was in the clear zone. I had a quick look, and luckily I was no longer freezing to death, so now I would finally be able to make it back home safely. I then installed a gravestone for the final fallen wyvern. These triplets has been awesome. Farming, fighting and exploring. You guys have really helped me, and your noble sacrifice was appreciated. On day 48 I was really adamant to reach level 95. So I took the Rex out to kill anything that might give me the XP that I needed. So after murdering the giant fishy, I came across a bunch of lizards in the water. Now, Magmasaurs can't do much in the water, so they were my next prey. I then went over to slaughter the both of them, and finally had reached level 95. I flew past an Alpha Rex and it was just too tempting to say the least, and I thought this Rex would handle it no problem. But unfortunately the Alpha got behind me. No matter what I do, I couldn't get turned around. I was getting so nervous. This guy was fighting dirty. He even managed to get me pushed into the lava, and it became a really close fight. But finally, I was victorious. On day 48, I decided, while I was in the area, I might as well go for a new wyvern, since I got all 3 of them killed, and I dove down into the wyvern trench. But it turned out to be a very low level, so I decided to swing over to another nest, but this time I was a bit low, so I had to use the cinema crops to gain some more height. I should have probably checked my weight beforehand, because once I grabbed it, I was too encumbered to jump. So I quickly had to drop things and glide down to my Maywing as quick as possible. The wyvern should be right on my tail, right? But no, there wasn't even any wyverns. The entire trench was empty. Didn't really understand why, but then I saw this. Since when were there helicopters on ARK? I definitely had to go over to investigate what was going on. So on day 50 I went scouting for the helicopter and I spotted a strange hut. Now, please warmly welcome iLegend and iSizen, my next collaboration. I spotted a wyvern in the air, but someone was busy attacking it with a rifle. So once it went down, I went over to investigate.
Oh, well done, sir. Did you just take out that wyvern all by yourself?
I spotted a little guy in front of the wyvern, so went over to meet him, not even noticing the guy in camo.
Why, yes he did, Master always gets his kills.
I did, yes, oh, I showed it. Does anyone have a camera, please? I'd love a picture beside my kill.
Yes, Master, I have a camera, but I'm not sure how it'll work it, so I'll just pass it to the stranger.
So the creepy guy passed me his camera, and I decided to take some snapshots.
Be sure to get the nice wide angle. It's a big wingspan. Get it all in one frame, bitte. Make sure you have good clearance on my shoulder. Wait, let me turn. Let me turn.
Oh, that's a postcard shot right there.
Yes, Sir Gunther der Dritte took down the Great Wyvern. Now, Ivan cleans this mess up while I go give our guest here a beer.
Oh, I'd actually love a nice cold beer.
So who the hell are you?
Well, I'm Kruger. I am the...
Ach, I'm bored already. Kruger, would you care to join me for a great hunt?
I mean, that kinda sounds fun. Oh boy, at all this. So, what are we hunting?
First we enjoyed some beers together,
Tastes good, doesn't it? This is premium deutsche Qualität. You see, Krüger, there is a big Affe down there, protecting some apparent special temple and treasure from some villain and whatever. I couldn't give a single shit. I'm here for its head. See, I am a well-known game hunter.
I mean, that I can definitely see, but let me go grab some supplies and I'll join you in a few days. How does that sound?
Fine, but I have to be back in Germany, in Frankfurt, for the opening of my Grand Museum by Sunday. So hurry up, will you?
Alright, I'll do that. Nice to meet you guys.
I then quickly hopped on my Maywing and glided out of there. I wasn't sure what he wanted me to fight since he said it in German, but hey, I had my Magmasaur saddle. That's all I was worried about now. And finally, on day 51, I got to test out Magmas, the giant lizard. So I pretty much spent the entire day gathering as much metal as I possibly could, just so I wouldn't have to worry about it for the rest of the entire video. And I must say, Magmas helped me fill up a forge in a matter of minutes. The next day I knew I needed to go gather up as much possible loot as I can if I wanted to fight whatever I was gonna fight. I then saw some gachas and decided to put some coal in them, hoping they would drop me some nice crystals as I've been good. And what do you know? They actually did. One of the crystals turned out to be a fabricated sniper, which was awesome. I then spent the rest of the day trying to find the loot cave located in the desert. On day 53, I made my way inside. Now, one cool thing with the Maywing is he pretty much got over all the traps undetected, aside from the darts. I managed to get an awesome legging BP, as well as a riot chest BP that I would never be able to afford to make. But finally I got a bit nervous as the Maywing's torp started to get really high and I knew I needed to get the hell out of there. But this place was one serious maze. I then stumbled upon another loot crate that was somewhat useless and fell into a pit of death. I thought I was a goner, but luckily the Maywing would swoop up and I was able to escape the trap unhitched. I then finally did a proper jump over and got over to the other side with no problems. The Maywing is really cool for this cave. I continued running through the maze, getting shot by so many tranq darts, really nervous about passing out, but finally I made it out the cave and was clear to freedom. And I slowly made my way back home to have a nice relaxing evening. Now, since the collector told me I had to be ready by 4 Sunday, time was starting to run out, so I dove down into the water and grabbed as much silica pearls as I could find. I then farmed up a whole bunch of obsidian that I could turn into polymer. I then grabbed a whole bunch of cooked ingots and I was able to make my overpowered new leggings. I then made myself a bunch of fabricated sniper ammo, shotgun rounds, a simple pistol, as well as an industrial cooker so I could cook up some med brews. That evening I went out to collect some berries and I spotted Raptor Claws was in the area. Maybe he has some nice presents for me. And boy did he, a flak chest piece. Now I was pretty much sorted and good to go. So I made my way back home, grabbed everything that I've been preparing as well as finish up my med brews, and on the morning of day 55 made my way over to the collector. Sir Gunther, I'm back. Not actually sure what we're fighting since you said the whole name in German, but I mean, I'm ready for whatever.
Excellent, Krüger. I don't know where my worthless assistant Ivan is. I've sent him out to get me some eggs for breakfast, but he has yet to return.
So, what are we fighting exactly?
Well, Krüger...
And down by the monkey temple, there he was waiting, a Megapithecus. That? You want us to fight that?
Don't worry, boy. Let's go.
So we drove down the mountain edge in these really loud jeeps. But it was a pretty cool experience, and I found a nice little parking spot just in front of the temple and we were ready to take on the beast.
Watch out, Krüger!
Oh, he's right above us. I don't know what's the best gun to use. Mine's primitive on my shotgun. There's a big boy there.
I got a better weapon for you.
Now, let's not talk about my aim here. Let's just say I was really nervous.
Let's run to the... he's right on my tail. Oh, he's right outside.
I've got a clear shot of him. Keep staying there.
Oh, so I'm the human bait now, am I?
Oh nein!
Alright, it's definitely better to stay inside. Oh, I've got monkeys chasing me. Monkeys chasing me.
Scheiße, pass auf!
I hope he can't make it up this temple. Oh boy.
Oh no, this is more monkeys!
I nearly got thrown. He's climbing up here. What is this? Luckily his rocks can't get through here.
I then wanted to head to the top so I could get in some good headshots, but I had some sinnoh difficulties to get up there. But finally, I made my way next to the collector.
We got this!
There we go!
Yes! Jawohl! Krüger, you know what to do next.
And of course, it was time for some postcard snaps yet again. So I went down to take a few pictures.
And now for my trophy.
And I documented how the collector collected his trophy from the Megapithecus.
Your head is mine, big monkey.
Mr. Gunther, it was truly an honor fighting side by side with you.
That's Sir Gunther der Dritte. Quiet boy. Ivan, fuel the chopper. I need to get back home. Ivan? Verdammte Scheiße. There is no time. Ich muss los. You can pack up and meet me back in Germany. Goodbye, Krüger.
Bye, Sir Gunther. It was nice meeting you, I guess. I then waved off my new friend. I flew back up the mountain to grab my Maywing, but first I wanted to have a look at the trophy. And finally I made my glide back home. Unfortunately, the collector was not so lucky. But finally I reached my base, and on the next day I was finally ready to hatch a new wyvern again. So I waited around for the egg to pop, and once he did, I named it Elsa. I then got it into the pouch of the Maywing, did some imprinting, and it still doesn't make sense how these guys fit into these little baskets, but I'm not complaining. I then went over to Blue Orb to have a quick look on what I actually needed to summon the Alpha Monkey. And on the start of day 57, that's exactly what I wanted to focus on. So the basilisks was up first. I had to be really careful not to be slaughtered by their spitballs, but I noticed when a Bassie dies, he sounds like a squeaky chicken. I then stumbled upon another one that was fighting an Magmasaur, but his attention quickly drew to me. So I used my innovative circling tactic to stay away from his poison breaths. And in no time I had him taken out, and I had the final basilisk scale that I needed. I then made my way over to the redwoods so I could search for some thylos the next day. The only place I ended up finding thylos were back in the desert, so I had to murder these two poor little kitty cats and continue the search here, since the redwoods turned out to be pretty useless on finding thylos. And finally, just before the evening, I spotted the final one that I needed. So I slaughtered him up, and I now had all the tributes for the thylos, and I was off to the next. On day 59 I went searching for a Spino. Now, spinos on this map is really hard to find, so I searched for ages, and finally I spotted some in the swamp, so I went in to slaughter them. Luckily, I only needed 2 spinos. Shortly thereafter, I found another one, but of course, this was in leech-infested waters. So after murdering the spino, I had to first clear out a whole army of leeches before I could try and go for it. But they got quick scent on me, and I had to retreat for a second to murder some more. Now just look at how much leeches they were. This is absolutely crazy. Finally, I collected my trophy, and I made my way over to the snow. By the evening, I found my first Yeti, and I slaughtered him to collect his lung, and shortly after found another one, just before the stroke of midnight. After taking care of the Carno buddies, I finally had my final lung that I needed. I had to be quite careful since there was a mana near me, but I quickly hopped off, managed to get the tribute, and make my way back. The next day I stumbled upon a strange cave, and I thought this would be ideal to collect Megalania. Now, the Sinnoh is quite awesome to navigate in the caves, although I do get a weird water emote, but I needed height. The bugs were able to ground me, which is something I didn't know before. And once I got some serious air, I realized just how many bugs there were. So I knew I wanted to get out of this place as quick as possible. So I slaughtered every single Megalania I could find. And finally, when I had everything that I needed, aside from one more, it ended up being in the worst location. Back in the first room where all the bugs were. But I was determined. I was gonna get this one way or another. So I went in to try and kill it, but it didn't take long for Arthropleura to sneak up on me. My Cinnamacrop skills kinda disappointed me in this moment, but there were just so many bugs. I was so nervous that they were crowding me, but finally I managed to get a bit of air after getting my armor shredded, and I was able to make a quick escape. It didn't take long for me to get grounded again, and from the fall damage I ended up nearly dying. This was probably one of my closest encounters with death to date. But luckily I was able to land onto a ledge, take care of all the final Arthropleuras, and collect the last Megalania that I needed. I definitely need to get out of this cave. This was not a fun experience at all. Finally I returned back to Blue Orb just to double check what was still left, and Ocean Tributes were up next. So I repaired all my gear, made myself a pretty nice Bassy saddle that I found, allocated a special bin for the boss tributes, and grabbed some scuba. By day 62 I was in the water, searching for a Tuso, and of course the one that I found ended up being a level 135. Luckily he wasn't really fighting back, and I was able to take care of him with Tamed Willy in no time. I now had the final ocean tributes that I needed, so I made my way back to base to continue searching for some more the next day. Next up were theories, a quite easy one since there's a spawn right nearby, but I also was in the search for a theory myself. So every time I would find a low level, I would slaughter them for their claws, but finally I spotted a very high level that I definitely wanted for myself. I brought it back to base and dropped it into the trap, and quickly proceeded to tranking it out. By day 64 the theory finally went down, and I was able to start taming it up. Now of course, it's gonna need a girlfriend, so I went searching elsewhere, and I managed to spot another high level one. Unfortunately my trap was still occupied, so I had to make other plans, and that's when I thought it might be a good idea just to tame it mid-air with a Sinnoh. And of course, knowing me, never paying attention to stamina, I ended up running out. I didn't want to lead the theory down the edge, because I might not easily find it again, but I gathered up a little bit of stamina, and finally I was able to go airborne again. In no time the theory went down, and I proceeded back to the first one to grab some narcotics. The next morning, as I was preparing my gear, I noticed the theory was so close to waking up. I rushed down as quick as I possibly could, and I literally made it in the last few seconds to feed it some narcotics. This would have been horrible to try and retrank again. So I stayed with it throughout the night until it was tamed, named it Kentucky, and made my way back to base to check the levels of them too, and I had a pretty high HP and melee one. On day 66, I went out searching for Gigas. So I went all around the known locations where they could spawn, and the jungle one turned out to be pretty hard to spot anything. Finally, I found myself over in the highlands and searched in the large open fields. By the next day, I went over to the mountain ranges, as this is another known location, but I still didn't have any luck. And finally, by the end of the day, a little tiny island. The next day I repeated the entire circle of all the known locations, and finally I spotted the Giga. And of course it had to be a level 85. This was gonna be a challenge for sure. So after placing a trap, I waited until the next morning before I would lure over the Giga in my attempt to take it down. But the Giga seemed more interested in my wyvern, so I had to go and rescue him first. And of course, the Giga found the only one place where he could pass my trap, and he got over to the other side. I tried everything in my power to lure him back, but after being unsuccessful, I decided to throw out the Rex and fight him from this side. So I lured the Giga back and damaged it as much as I could until my Fabby broke, and now I was about to mount Betty White and slowly march forward. But the Giga seemed quite frightened as it ran away. And this was my perfect opportunity to quickly pick up the large bear traps. But I was hustled. The Giga was quickly on my tail, and now I was forced to fight him. Not paying attention to the floor, I ended up walking into the bear trap, escaping a bite from the Giga, and now I had to watch on as Betty White got absolutely slaughtered. There was no way I was gonna let the Giga get away with this, so I had one more plan. I would drop in U-gates, pick up the two in front and lure the Giga back inside. And he was quickly onto my plan. Once I got him inside the box, I made a risky maneuver to go in behind him and place another gate. Throw out Mario Luigi and the fight was back on. He wasn't really able to bite me for some reason, so once he was low enough I tried to kill him myself. But being impatient, I wanted to give him a few more bites. And of course it ended up being the last one it needed. So I took a few postcard snaps that I could send to the collector that I'm also a worthy hunter, and made my way back to base. I quickly installed a gravestone for Betty White, but hey, I have a little surprise in store. Before she died, I was able to mate them, so her legacy can live on through her children. Now that I had all the tributes that I needed, I went out looking for a Daedon on day 70. After being unsuccessful at finding a high level in the snow, I managed to track one down in the desert that seemed like it would be an ideal match for the boss fight. So I grabbed up the little piggy, took it back to base and knocked it out, and by that evening I cryoed up Babe. On day 71 I went searching for a Yudi, the final missing piece of my boss army. But then I learned something new. Wyverns can get fear-roared. And of course the UT went to the most populated area, so first I had to slaughter a bunch of wilds before I could finally have it alone and get its attention to get it lured into my metal billboard trap. I had the UT in, but then it fear-roared my wyvern again before I could grab my darts. Finally I had my darts and I started shooting the UT until my gun broke and I was forced to rely on trank arrows. It seemed like it was running, and I ended up running out of ammo, so I thought I might check all the bags in the hope to find a missing arrow. But for some reason the Yudi got out of the trap and nearly bit me to death, but luckily Elsa was right there to save me. I re-trapped the Yudi, went back to base to repair my gear and grab some more trank arrows, and finally on day 72 I was back to knocking the Yudi out. She went down in no time, and I was able to search around for some prime meat. I tamed her up and named her Cotton Eye Jane, cryoed her up and took her back to base. At the start of day 73, I went out to farm a whole bunch of wood so I could get my charcoal supply back up and running. I then went to grab some organic poly and paste in order to repair my broken fabricated sniper. Finally, I went out to harvest a whole bunch of flint so I could make the spark powder needed to turn it back into gunpowder. By the morning of day 74, I was finally making all the gunpowder that I needed to refill my bullet supplies yet again. I then repaired my shotgun as well as make a backup, grabbed all the bullets that I needed, and I was off on another adventure. I wanted to explore the lighthouse a little bit and see what that was all about. Now, time for our next collab, so ladies and gentlemen, welcome SeptemberDuck.
What could that mean? A mouth, never talking.
Wait, is there someone there?
Oi, who goes there?
Nope, you can't see me, you can't see me.
I can see you, you know.
Hi, I'm Kruger.
Kruger, I've heard of you. You can call me the trader. Castaway sent me a radio message. You were making a boat for him or something? He must have left before I got here, as I haven't heard from him since.
Wait, you know Castaway?
Well, I trade treasures and artifacts online, and you always need a trusty courier.
I mean, sure, that makes sense. But why are you here? He's already saved after I made him the motorboat.
That's good. No, well, I'm here for my latest treasure. A temple containing 2 priceless artifacts.
Ugh, what is it with you people and all these artifacts? Believing in ghosts and goblins and curses and things. Well, anyway, I got things to do, so I'm gonna head out of here, miss. Good luck.
No, Kruger, wait. I have this riddle I haven't been able to solve. I was hoping being on the island would give me inspiration.
Okay, what's the riddle?
So it states to find the Bermudic rock pathway. Riddle me this. What can run but never walks, has a mouth but never talks, has a head but never weeps, and has a bed but never sleeps?
I mean, that's like the oldest riddle in the book. It's totally a river, right?
Oh gosh, how did I not think of that? Ugh, I always tend to overthink.
Wait, Bermudic Rock? River? I actually think we've got a similar point of interest, because I've been searching for that cave. Alright, follow me, I'll help you with this. So, just like that, the two of us were off on our adventure. I swear it was around here somewhere. Oh wait, there! Do you see it? Tell me you see it.
Ah, the rocks. It's a triangle. Bermuda. Oh my god, I solved it. I'm brilliant.
What do you mean you solved it? I mean, this was my kind of idea and searching, but okay.
But since I don't really have anything to do today, I think I'm gonna join you on this quest, since there are some artifacts in there that I need myself as well.
And with that, we armed up and mentally prepared ourselves.
Alright, are you ready for this?
No, but let's go. I've got piranhas on my tail.
Yeah, you've got piranhas on your tail.
I definitely didn't
there's
bring
another
enough
one.
backup armor for this. Oh, and there goes my flak. And there goes my chase piece. Oh, I'm stuck. But luckily I was able to get loose and glide to a nearby edge. Right. This looks pleasant. There's some.
Look out for traps.
I see bats to our left. Let's kind of avoid those. Not in the mood for rabies today.
Watch out for the traps behind you.
Oh, I just got rabies. Here we go. He's down.
Arthropleura.
And bats again.
Sorry, I got the bat. I can see something. Here, look.
Watch out. Bites and boas behind you. Oh, there's so many bats. Oh, rabies again. One left. Nice. Oh wait, there's another button in here.
Oh.
That's it. I think we're opening it up now. Here we go. Artifact of the Devious. If there's a... That's gotta be the button. Yeah, alright. I then also grabbed Artifact of the Massive, and this was now the final artifact I needed.
Have we been up here?
We haven't been up here though. It's...
Oof. Let's
Wait,
find-
I think I found it.
It's this one, this side. Kruger, I think I found it. This is it. My treasure. This is what I'm looking for.
I just need to drink some of this water. Why is this water not drinkable? Leeches?
Me too.
Seriously? Leeches? I'm dipping down the waterfall. I'll meet you down there. So we quickly prepared a campfire to get rid of the leeches.
Thanks, Kruger, for your help. I think I can find my way from here. And hopefully, one day, we'll meet again soon.
Just as long as it's not for another cave like that. But it was lovely meeting you.
Dad, you would have been so proud of me. What was that?
Now that I had all the artifacts that I needed, it was time to really start preparing the army. So I hatched all my Rexes in the hope that one of them would be a female, but all 4 the first ones were male, so I had to hope the final one would give me that grain of hope. And hey, what do you know, it ended up being a female. So luckily I was saved and I had a breeding pair of Rexes. I then started separating all the breeding Rexes from the ones I would use to gain some XP at the end of it. By day 81 I hatched a female that had a pretty cool mutation. 420 melee, baby. So finally I now had to get this female bred to get a new stud. But unfortunately ARK gave me a lot of issues. I went through so many different eggs and batches, hoping just to get a stud at some point in time, but this was proving more difficult than what I was thinking. So all of them got turned into XP Rexes and I continued the search for another stud. I added even more females to the lineup to increase my egg production, and hopefully this would do the job. But after numerous attempts, the entire day 83 was a waste. I had a whole lineup of XP Rexes by now, and by day 84 I thought it was taking a bit too long, so I would try one more batch of Rexes. And finally, on the final Rex, I had my new mutated stud. Nearly 10k HP and 420 melee, so this was now my breeding line. I then took the old stud out of the lineup, got my best 6 females to breed with a new stud, got a few more eggs, and finally this would be the final version of boss Rexes that I would need. I then did some more imprinting, and I made some primitive saddles for them all. On day 85, I did the final imprints and waited for them to finish up raising, and it was almost like ARK knew mass genocide was about to be committed, as I woke up to a bloody red sky. Now, each Rex would have 4 other Rexes that they could kill for XP, and this worked pretty well as each of them got about 40 levels just from slaughtering these high level Rexes. So I proceeded by hopping on my Rexes one by one and giving them each their snack of 4 Rexes. The leveling went so much more easy than having them follow me across the map, and I ended up gaining a lot of XP myself. I reached level 103 by the time I was done, and finally my Rex lineup was ready to go. Next up were the theories. So I'm gonna keep the process a lot more brief this time, since you pretty much know how it works now. So I hatched up the first 4 babies, but they all ended up being females, so I had to bring back the original theory to breed with them all once they would be raised. I then collected some eggs that evening, and continued hatching more theories. Finally I had a male, so this guy would be my stud. I then separated the breeding and the XP lineup, and by that evening collected a whole bunch of eggs. The next day I hatched some more, but so many of them turned out to be females, so I brought them back to the breeding lineup and increased my egg production. Finally I hatched a whole bunch of theories on day 88, and I would check one of these were gonna be the mutation that I would want. That evening I dropped them all, and by the next morning I finally had the stud that I was looking for. made a whole bunch of primitive saddles, and now it was time to breed the stud that I wanted into all the new theories to have my boss lineup ready. I then named them all and dropped off all the redundant XP ones, and finally the next morning mass genocide was about to be committed yet again. So each theory got their 3 or 4 theories to kill, giving them 40 levels, and giving me level 105. The army was now ready. On day 91, time was starting to run out, so I made some tree sap collectors and made my way over to the redwoods to place them. I then went searching for some beehives so I could collect some honey. And I must say, there's quite a lot of hives in the redwoods. One of these days I definitely want to tame myself up a queen bee, but this time I just didn't have the time, so I was left with handpicking. But finally I had enough and I made my way back home. The next day I started taking my army of Rexes and Theories up to Blue Orb. It was a bit problematic to get them all up the mountain, so I had to do some picking. But finally the army was there and I was able to line them up and bring the snow owl over to do some healing. It took me the entire day, but finally they were all healed up. On day 93 I went to collect all the sap that was ready, needing 120 in total. And once I made it back I spotted some monk hairs around my wyvern, and of course it had to be a 145. Now, who needs traps when you find such a perfect location? So I murdered off its entire family, and finally it was ready to be tamed. I did have some plan to use the monkey, but yeah, this was a little bit late in the video to get it tamed. But I named it Rafiki and I flew back to base. The next morning I had to start work on a greenhouse, so I farmed up some crystal and made the structures, placed a whole bunch of crop pots, and pooped a lot, grabbed the seeds that I needed and planted all the veggies. But I needed to wait for rain since my water irrigation was not gonna handle this. So I made myself a canoe and a fishing rod and decided to spend the next day fishing. But fishing for blueprints was not as pleasant as I thought it was gonna be, as a capro interrupted my pleasant experience. And by pleasant I mean waiting for fish to never bite. So I rather went to the labyrinth cave in the desert for one final attempt. I threw out Rafiki, and he was pretty OP as well going through the cave. I then made my way over to the loot crates, and I managed to get a shield, a fur hat, some fur gauntlets, and some flak boots, so now I was pretty sorted and I was able to get the hell out of there. On day 96, I spent the entire day searching for blue loot drops, in the hope that I would find a Theory, Daedon, Yudi, and Rex BP. But I was only lucky in finding a Rex. Armor 69, so I mean that had to be a sign. Yes! It wasn't the best, but it would have to do. I then went to farm up a bunch of hide, but after finding out Brontos would only give me 200, I knew I wouldn't have the time for this. But then I remembered, I had a whole stash of hide waiting in my Theories and Rexes. So I grabbed the hide, all the cooked up metal, and I started making my saddles. I had the first 4 done, but then I had to go and farm out some more materials, so I went for some metal first, followed by some more hide, and by that evening the ARK gods finally gave me the rain I was hoping for. I finished up my saddles, and by day 98 I had all of them ready and took them over to the Rexes. Once I saddled them up, I grabbed all their meat and put it in Babe's inventory so she could heal us up during the fight, and I made my way back to start working on the veggie cakes. Finally, my veggies were grown, and I grabbed everything that I needed to start cooking up my veggie cakes. I could only get about 15 done, so each theory would get either 1 or 2, but now my army was ready. I went to have one final dinner and get in a good night's rest before the day that lied ahead.
Kruger, come quick, I need your help.
But is that Ivan? Ivan, is that you?
Yes, Kruger, Master's been kidnapped. Please come, I've been looking for you for days.
Do you know where it is?
Tracked him on his radio, but since he took the chopper, I had no way to get there. It's all the way across the map. Master needs us!
Okay, Ivan, calm down. Don't worry, let's go.
Kruger.
Oh boy, what is it this time, Ivan?
I'm very afraid of heights. The cords are 60-30.
Alright, fine, I'll go get them myself. So I hopped on the wyvern and made my way over to the cords.
Oh yeah, here's all my friends.
Krüger, you're here!
Oh, thank goodness. You hear that, Wilson? We're saved again.
What the hell happened to you guys?
Well, after you helped us, we were all attacked and woke up here.
Yes, they have my trophies!
And all the artifacts, right?
Well, all but one. The one the Dinopithecus king guards.
Well, then that settles it. If that's the only one left, there's no way of completing this curse. So, you guys are gonna help me finish this boss.
Alright, Krüger, let's hunt some more big game.
Hold on to your butts. Right, I'm about to start it. And with that, we made our way over to the boss, feeling nervous but ready to take it on. Alright, I'm lining up the shot. We're about to upset the big monkey.
Here we go. Another big monkey.
And with that, the fight was on. Now the first moment of any boss fight would tell you if you're gonna make it, and we were doing some pretty good damage, so I was feeling quite confident. I'm gonna have to take my fur off, I'm overheating.
Falling like puppets.
I haven't seen any Rexes die yet.
No, they're bloody.
Alright, he's
Watch
down,
out for the
he's
monkeys
down.
in the air.
He's right on top of me this time. I'm taking all his punches, but that's better because I'm imprinted. In no time, Theory started falling left and right because of their primitive saddles. Come on, I need to get in that fight, get away from me. But I was still confident that we could do this. Right, we're gonna be close on this, we can still do it. I thought I overprepared for this and this is tight. Then I learnt about the monkey's dismount effect.
Please jump up.
Come on, Rexy.
Our army is falling.
But yeah, there's one more Theory here. There goes the last Theory. And I'm dismounted. How? I wasn't even close to him.
Where are you? Okay, everything on passive, everything in the middle, you us up.
And I got knocked off my Rex yet again.
He's down.
He dismounted. But luckily I was able to grab another one just in time.
This thing is almost dead.
I made my way back into the fight and got dismounted right in its face.
Oh, got
How do you
dismounted.
keep dismounting? Oh,
Dismounted.
No one's on the YouTube.
I'm dismounted.
alright, he's
This is
coming down. He's coming down. I'm coming.
Ay. Okay, that's the end.
But I wasn't ready to give up, so I made my way back to give a final few bites. Take the pig back and shoot.
Yep.
He's going down.
Can't move. The monkey's on me.
Let the hunter take the last shot.
Hey!
I got the shot. By the way, Krüger, how did you know where to find us?
I mean, I haven't tracked your radio.
Krüger, I never had my radio on me. It was back at the shopper.
So wait, how did he know?
Krüger, this fight was more challenging than any other I've ever faced. I thank you for this amazing experience.
I'm not gonna lie, this was the same. I mean, we were left with only 3 tames. That is insane. But before we could celebrate, something dropped out of the sky, and we got knocked out.
Oh, Krüger, good, you're awake.
Ivan, is that you? What have you done? Guys, are you okay?
Don't worry, they're just sleeping. Krüger, you fool. You played into my hands this entire time.
Wait, Ivan, what are you talking about? Who the hell are you?
Now, you all get to sit back and watch the world, as you know, come to an end.
Ivan, wait, no. Don't do this.
My name is not Ivan. It's Sizen the Terrible. Nothing personal, Krüger. You were all mere pawns in a bigger plan at work. Now the world shall see my true power. To him that possesses all 4, bring all artifacts to the sacred door. The worthy one with the command to bring, I summon thee, the mighty Titan King!
No, don't do it. Oh, no, I need to get out of this cage. Oh boy, this is not good. Wait, I've got a hatchet. Come on, break. There we go. Tell me I'm not too late. Oh boy. This is not good at all.